Welcome back to the end of the year, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you've seen 100 movies or 10, everyone has an angle and perspective on the world of cinema, from big budget blockbusters to low budget indies. And like many others on YouTube, I too am here to celebrate my favorites for the year 2018. It was one of the toughest years for me because there were so many films that I genuinely felt deserved the spotlight. I really struggled with my top 10. I also struggled to maintain discipline in my hunger, choosing fast food and sugar over healthy meals. But at least my struggles were consistent. But my struggles were also why I decided to put together a little montage for all the honorable mentions. These are the films that didn't quite make the cut but absolutely earned their shine. Also, chances are that you may not agree with some, if not all, the choices in this video. If the movies you really like didn't make it on this list, it means that those movies didn't quite resonate with me the way they did with you. And that's okay. This is what movie experiences are all about. Everyone individually is affected differently by the art that we watch. It's all subjective. We're not supposed to want people dead for liking Star Wars sequels. The Last Jedi. We're also not supposed to belittle each other for having alternative opinions. We should support each other for independent thinking and stand by what we feel. Having friendly debates where we each learn something new from each other instead of knocking each other down. All that being said, I feel blessed to have the opportunity to share what I loved for another year with all of you. Thank you to all the filmmakers, the crew members, the actors, the producers, the directors of photography, the editors. Thank you to everyone who creates and shares with the world. Here are my honorable mentions. Now, without further ado, here are my top 10 movies of 2018. Mandy was a roller coaster acid trip I never knew I wanted. Quiet tenderness and patience takes us through the first half, while the second half treats us to chaos and utter madness. Moments will creepily linger long enough to concretely burn into your memories, and moments will also race at a relentless pace, having you convinced you just snorted a line of cocaine. I've never seen a movie quite like this, but it is a rewarding one that crafts a nightmarish world with an unleashed Nicolas Cage who is very much welcomed. The supporting cast, shout out to Andrea Riseborough, complement the crazy visuals wonderfully, and the action is simply awesome when it arrives. Not an easy recommendation, but the daring, bold, terrifying rage is something I won't ever forget. Hereditary is the directorial debut of Ari Aster, but anyone with blissful ignorance may easily believe he's been making movies for years, the way this horror piece is crafted together. A movie that very easily slipped under my skin and had me checking my ceiling corners for months. Seriously. A movie that unravels the frightening nature of family dynamics and how easily a family could be torn apart. A movie I haven't seen since June of this year, but I can vividly remember like I saw it yesterday. Careful camera framing, mesmerizing performances, and haunting imagery are only the tip of this detailed iceberg. Anyone who has lost a loved one can willingly relate to the premise, but this movie unforgivingly seeks ugliness in the complexities of grieving. Whether to explore what that means or not can only be up to you.
You tried to kill me. I trying to kill me.
Avengers Infinity War is the culmination of a full decade of connected stories within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, featuring an array of characters you've come to understand, emphasize with, love, and aspire to be, only to watch all of that be taken away from you with the uncomfortable feeling of the unknown, not knowing what comes next. Uncertainty. Incredible action set pieces, smartly placed humor, and a freight train of emotions await you with a duration of 2 hours and 40 minutes, but it'll legitimately feel like half of that. The Russo brothers made it work, and I do not envy the stress they carried to make this movie, but I do applaud and thank them for the love, call it tough love, based on the events of this film, that they inserted into this universe of characters. Hopefully it all pays off with Endgame next year, and the results of Endgame could affect how people feel about this movie, but no matter what happens, the experience preceding is undeniably unforgettable. Annihilation is a wicked and fascinating sci-fi story, with a world one would certainly be in awe of upon glancing at the cover, but perhaps much more dubious once a peek into the pages subsequently transpires. A wild musical score and transformative visual horrors create an identity that is truly difficult to forget. This movie genuinely terrifies and leaves you with more questions than answers. In a weaker movie, that would make for a major flaw, but somehow here, Alex Garland makes ambiguity satisfying. A strange mix of John Carpenter's The Thing blended with the idea of the Flood from the Halo video game series, amongst other inspirations, tells a tale of a flawed group of women experiencing what appears to be a new kind of perfection. This is the kind of sci-fi I love and desire from storytellers. The Favorite appeared as a lovely invitation thanks to the likes of one beloved Emma Stone, but the party I arrived at was not exactly the fun I expected. In a weird way, there was humor and fun to be had, but there's also much more going on. A vicious Shakespearean chess game of manipulation between individuals attempting to retain or obtain the affection of one poor queen. And in between these people, an assortment of adversities that are sometimes quirky, sometimes perplexing, and sometimes unpredictable. Add subtle yet powerful direction, authentic environments, and amazing camera work, you got yourself one of my favorite movies of the year. I never knew that I could despise the human behavior of Emma Stone, but this movie proved my thoughts wrong. A wild cautionary tale of sorts that teaches that timeless lesson, be careful what you wish for. Won't you be my neighbor? Simply put, moved me in a way most other pieces of art have never. I walked out of this documentary in theaters sobbing all the way to my car in the parking lot. The feeling in retrospect may seem bittersweet given the darkness that surrounds the world these days, but the positivity that radiates all over this movie is something very much needed. This serves as a love letter to Fred Rogers, but it also serves as a reminder to everyone that we can all be a little kinder and love a little more to the benefit of our own lives, the lives around us, and the lives in future generations to come. There will never be another Fred Rogers, but we can aspire to live the way he did. Documentaries have the power to shed new light and perspectives on situations or issues we may or may not have known before, but this one has made me a better person for watching it. A cinematic representation of love I'll hold dear forever. Mission Impossible Fallout is insane. Christopher McQuarrie will make you believe a 50-something-year-old actor can fly. Fly through the sky. Fly a helicopter. Fly across rooftops. Tom Cruise is batshit. But to our benefit, his refusal towards self-preservation makes for incredible filmmaking. It does. The sixth entry in the 20-plus-year-old franchise keeps getting better and better, with somehow even more daring stunt sequences and a simple plot that does not let up for anything. Surprise after surprise, betrayal after betrayal, and chase after chase. There is never a moment to breathe. I cannot express how much I love this movie. If you're a fan of action, you will enjoy yourself immensely. If you hate Tom Cruise and want to see him go through all the pain, you will too. Enjoy yourself immensely. It's a true workout for the senses. Creed 2 is the sequel I was not ready to be blown away by. As much as I love the cheesiness embodied in Rocky IV, I was apprehensive about the idea of tackling that story years later, head-on with Adonis Creed. The basic plot sounded like something that a 10-year-old obsessed with Rocky would come up with, but I underestimated the maturity of the filmmakers because the movie made me feel a lot. I also cried throughout. Michael B. Jordan and Tessa Thompson acted their asses off. Their relationship through trials and tribulations rocked me to my core emotionally speaking. Stephen Cable Jr. took the reins from Ryan Coogler and filled his ginormous shoes with a direction that succeeded in numerous ways. It succeeded as a spiritual sequel to the fourth Rocky film. It succeeded as a progression for Adonis' character after the 2015 film. It succeeded as a family drama. And it succeeded as a sports film in a genre full of greats. This movie made the Drago family empathetic through strategic storytelling and well-placed emotional beats. That's cool. A sequel that went above and beyond, if you ask me, because it did what great sequels do right, which is challenge our protagonists beyond their limits. Blindspotting has energy for days. You could feel the passion and love through the essentials that every great movie captures. Characters first and foremost, then a compelling narrative that relates to said characters, and finally a direction that challenges for better or for worse. I've never been to Oakland, California, but a vibe was vividly painted, which was at times infectious, at other times horrifying. But at all times, it felt real. Daveed Diggs and Rafael Casal, the writers and main characters of this film, take us on a journey that relates heavily to the struggles of present-day America through riveting dialogue and even more insightful lyrical verses. Oddly enough, in a year featuring Black Klansmen, this feels very much like an old-school Spike Lee joint. It's purposely provocative and aggressive, but it's also hilarious and witty. You'll be thoroughly enjoying yourself for a while, and then reality strikes faster than a bullet to the brain. Filmmaking can be shaped in so many different ways, but the shape taken form here in just over 90 minutes is one that I'll be able to revisit time and time again. A movie that definitely slipped under everybody's radar, but I dare you to watch it and not be moved by it.
The difference between me and you is I ain't no killer.
Spider-Man Into the SpiderVerse came out of nowhere and whipped me around like a giddy 8-year-old back when I saw the original Spider-Man released in theaters in 2002. Really never had the thought that this animated flick would be anywhere near as amazing as it turned out to be. Miles Morales' story is treated seriously, while also being utilized as a catalyst for the wacky yet resonant adventure that explodes on screen with various iterations of the Spider-Man character, hence the Spider-Verse. The animation is unique and vibrant. It captures the authenticity of a comic book, but it also enhances what we come to know about Miles as a human being. As much as this movie benefits from being animated, the animation itself is an entity of its own as well. The soundtrack also elevates the movie as a whole because it can be debated that it tells us more about Miles through his own musical tastes, much like Peter Quill in Guardians of the Galaxy. More than anything, this movie understands what it means to be Spider-Man, and how to tell a compelling story through the flaws that inhabit the characters. For Peter Parker, it was always guilt. In such subtle ways, we learn more about this guilt, how complex it was, and how it ruined his life, going beyond his younger days. But even more importantly, we learn about Miles, and how he ticks as a person, and what it means to challenge him as a character. The action set pieces, moments of levity, and colorful animation are the cherry on top to a movie that has a legitimate beating heart at its core. It teaches a beautiful lesson for the fans of Spider-Man, whether they're older or they're younger. Anyone can be Spider-Man. But even if you're not a fan of the witty, faulty, relatable Marvel superhero, Into the Spider-Verse is a good movie on its own merits. It has everything that you would want and then some. It's art that will inspire. The 2002 film from Sam Raimi inspired me and helped me get to where I am today. Who knows what this 2018 flick will do for millions of kids out there today. With all that being said, thank you for tuning in to my last video of the year. Thank you to anyone and everyone who has supported me in any way, shape, or form. I hope you all enjoyed your holidays, no matter how you celebrated them and who you celebrated them with. And finally, be safe going into the new year. So, what were your favorite movies of 2018? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all in 2019.